part of our health community tonight. My name is Chantel Flake, and I'm a certified health coach with Take Shape for Life and Optivia. And we are just so glad to have you. So what we're going to do, we have 3 different speakers tonight. So the first speakers, and I'll kind of introduce them as the night goes on. The first speakers, we have Jared and Amber Smithson, and they're actually my health coaches, so I'm kind of biased to them. I love them dearly, but they are incredible. They're going to first talk a little bit about, just to kind of give you a frame of reference where we're coming from, if you, just resources and tips and tricks and anything like that, where they can talk about emotional eating and just some things that they've helped other people accomplish with their health. So they've been helping people for 8 years now. So they have lots and lots of tips. So they're going to share with those some of those with you. Yes. Speak up a little bit louder. Okay, I'll try. You guys, they have loud voices too. So, all right. So I'm going to turn over to Jared and Amber, and then we'll go from there. All right, perfect. Hey, thanks for coming, you guys. We're so excited. If we need more chairs, there's stacks over here. They're really heavy. I carried about half of those out here already, so I'm done.
I brushed my teeth so you can sit in the front row.
Perfect. You fill the whole front row. Everyone's here to there. Yeah. No, we're good.
They don't need to see me. I'm not as good looking as her.
So thanks for coming. So this first hour, have you guys ever been to an event where they talk a lot about things that you can do and different mindset changes, and then you kind of go home and you feel like, well, what do I do now? Does that ever happen to you? You guys ever? Okay. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to start off and give you some real tangible things that you can do or latch onto, a real program, a real health coach. So whoever invited you, you're going to want to connect up with them after tonight. And then after we tell you a little bit about what we do with Take Shape for Life and Optivia, and how we help clients in our story and journeys through emotional eating and health, then we're going to have our speakers come up, the Wendys, and we're very excited about them speaking tonight too.
So how many of you have ever had questions about health? Where do you get your answers to your questions?
The internet.
The internet, most of all, right? The Google. So the Google, what do I do for this, right? So there's a lot of information out there. There's some good information, there's some bad information. There's 1,000 different ways, for instance, to lose weight. Some of them healthy, some of them very unhealthy. Our medical director, Dr. Anderson, he doesn't do it anymore because he always got in trouble with his wife, who's a registered nurse. He'd get up there and be like, yeah, you can snort cocaine and lose weight. And she would be like, no, you can't say that. That's not what we're doing here. We're trying to help people actually create health. And so with Take Shape for Life and Optivia, it was started 15 years ago by Dr. Wayne Anderson, who is the 10th board-certified critical care physician in the country. He was really a pioneer in critical care, but he felt every single day like he was too far downstream. He was catching bodies as they were floating down the stream. That he spent his days and nights in the surgical room, repairing people just to keep them alive. And he saw that their quality of life was not what people want. So although mortality rates are going up, quality of life is going down. So that's not the life that I want to live when I'm old. Some people think that I'm old right now. One of our health coaches in this room actually on Facebook the other day was talking about how old I was. But I don't think I'm very old.
You do have gray hair.
I do have gray hair. But I put that in there so that I look distinguished.
Yes, love it. You're sexy. Okay, so what we do is we really want people to have more of a holistic approach to health. And holistic means that you are focusing on the whole person, that you're not just going on a diet or you're not just exercising yourself to death. There's more to it. There's mindset things that you want to work on. Of course, you want to watch how you're eating and how you're moving, but we also want you to focus on things like meditation, things like lowering your stress, getting healthy sleep. So there's a lot more to it than just one.
So if you look at the whole person, This circle here, this optimal health circle, it really comes from work done, a huge research project done over about a 10-year period. And you look at healthy body, healthy mind, healthy finances. In each category, there's a lot of things that we don't attend to, or we're not aware of all the time. We just think about our body in general. We might look in the mirror and we're like, oh, we're overweight, or I don't have enough energy for the things that I want to do in life. When you look at healthy finances, one of the biggest indicators of long-term fulfillment and happiness is what people do in their work, because we spend more time at work in our awake hours than we do in anything else. So the research shows that people who feel like they're contributing to society in their work, they're far more happy. They also have healthier, outwardly looking healthier lives because they tend to be at a healthier weight. They have less stress, things like that.
Feel free to come on, just like fall right in front of us. Seriously, you're totally fine.
Yeah.
Like we have a great.
Or pull up the captain chairs on the outside. We're smart.
We've got lots, and there's doors out here too to go that way.
So we actually have a health assessment that we use as health coaches that goes through each one of these categories. So reach out to the person who invited you here, the health coach, and just go through this and find out what areas of your life are lacking, so that we can kind of direct and guide and support and encourage you in those different areas.
So here is our pictures. We both used to be overweight. In fact, I think you were obese on the BMI.
Not quite.
Not quite. Okay.
Close.
We'll go with that. So both of us used to struggle really with our health and with our weight, really. And for me, I never really mentally struggled with how I looked. I always just thought, you know what, I've had babies, I'm getting rounder, I'm okay with that. And so I felt pretty good about myself, honestly, until I visited my doctor one day. And the doctor ran some tests, some routine things, and he let me know that my cholesterol was 260, which anything over 200 is high, that my blood sugars were pre-diabetic levels, and that I was overweight. And I always joke that I had one of those fancy BMI indicators. Do you guys have one of these at home? It's like this big. It hangs on your wall. It's called a mirror. Do you guys have one of those? So I knew that I was overweight. I knew that every time I bought jeans that I went up a size, like year after year, until I was at the very top of the sizes at my favorite clothing store. And then I knew I was in trouble. But when I found out that my health was really going downhill, that I was getting sick, that really kind of snapped me into realizing the direction that I was on, the road that I was on. So I started getting healthy. I looked on the Google, on the internet, of what I could do. And I found out about eating 6 times a day. I found out about balancing your macronutrients. I found out about drinking lots of water and exercising and getting more sleep and these sorts of things. And I lost 35 pounds, which was fantastic. But even better was that my body was getting healthier. My cholesterol dropped over 70 points. My blood sugars were completely even. And I felt like $1 million. I was able to play volleyball better, jump higher, right? Volleyball, I got lots of volleyball friends here. And that was really important to me, that I had that energy. I had 3 kids who were asking me to go to the park and do all these fun, active things. And before, when I was overweight, I kept saying, let's just watch a movie. Or let me teach my 2-year-old how to put the DVD in without scratching it. Mm-hmm. You know, I do some smiles. We've done this, we're moms. But it moved me to that next level in my health. But it wasn't until that was before Take Shape for Life that this happened. But it wasn't until Take Shape for Life that I really started addressing my emotional eating issues. And it was amazing that I still would have these triggers where if I got stressed out, that I would immediately go to the cupboard, open up the doors, find the goldfish crackers or bread or rolls or whatever easy carbohydrates I could get my hands on. And that was my trigger. And I just thought that's how it was, that's how life is, that's how people are. Maybe someday I will stop having stressors in my life so that I could stop doing that. Yeah. And what I found out through our program is that I can change my habits, that I can create new habit loops that now when I get stressed out, it doesn't even make sense for me to go find goldfish crackers in my cupboard. So that's been part of my journey with Take Shape for Life.
Yeah, so how many of you have ever have kind of identified where emotional eating came from? Because my emotional eating started when I was about 4 years old. Okay, and it was all my parents' fault. I started playing soccer when I was 4 years old, and I remember scoring my first goal. And after that game, my parents on the way home, they're like, "Hooray! You scored a goal. Let's go get ice cream." Right? So I equated happiness and accomplishment with going and getting ice cream. It probably wasn't more than a day later that my older brother was beating the crap out of me, and my mom's like, "Oh, Jared, you're sad, you're crying. Let's go have a bowl of ice cream." Right? So really quickly, our culture and the way that we grow up dictates a lot of our original habit loops. So my family did not have great habits growing up. We were carbitarians. I don't remember that many meals growing up where we had good lean protein or anything like that. Very cheap meals. And so as I grew, I graduated from high school. I'm 6'2". I graduated from high school at 158 pounds. At the beginning, at the end of my junior year, I weighed 150 pounds, and I worked with a trainer over that summer, and he had me eating between 6,000 and 7,000 calories a day to gain weight, so that colleges would start looking at me more to play basketball. And over that summer, 4.5 months of eating 6,000 to 7,000 calories a day and being sick every single day because I was eating way too much, I gained 8 pounds. And I never gained any more weight during my senior year. I felt horrible. And literally he's like, "Hey, you know what a good source of just calories are? Just eat peanut butter and honey sandwiches." So I literally eat like 15 a day, and a lot of other junk. But those kinds of habits caught up with me. As I became more sedentary, I started gaining weight. At my picture on the left, I weighed 204 pounds. At my heaviest, I weighed 228. But I don't have any pictures over about a 5 or 6 year span because I refused to get behind on the front side of the camera. I would just take the pictures. I felt awful about myself, and I kind of lived a life of silent misery. I had a terrific wife, terrific kids, and I looked at my life and said, "You should be happy," but I wasn't because something was missing. And a big part of that was what I identified with my whole life was being an athlete. And an athlete in a 6'2" body isn't 228 pounds unless he's a linebacker. But I was a slender basketball player, not a linebacker. So I didn't have that muscle mass. So when I found Take Shape for Life, when Amber's mom introduced us 8 years ago, I had killed myself in the gym for 2 years trying to lose weight. I managed to lose 25 pounds on my own. And then when she convinced me, she convinced me out of love, just staying with me and saying, "Just try the program, just give it a shot." I lost my last 25 pounds in 4.5 weeks rather than in over a 2-year process.
Results not typical unless you're a man.
But I felt better than I had in over 20 years. I actually felt better than when I was competing in high school and college playing. So it completely changed our lives, to say the least.
So here is just just a couple of just tips and things that we use to Take Shape for Life. Because like I said, I want you to go home with something tangible before our speakers come up. And so you know you can contact the person who invited you if you need extra help with anything. So first off, it's our Habits of Health program. And we always talk about what our program is because too many times people think that a program is a weight loss plan, right? Mm-hmm. But really, a weight loss plan may be part of a program. And a lot of times it is. A lot of times people do, like I did, I needed to get my body healthier. I wanted to get my energy up. I wanted to be that mom that I really envisioned being. And so it did involve weight loss for me, but not for everybody. So our program is eating 6 times a day. It's balancing your macronutrients. It's hydrating your body, moving your body, getting the proper sleep, lowering that stress, utilizing meditation. all these different components are things that we teach, no matter if you are losing weight or not.
People will be like, what do I do after I get to my goal weight? Well, what I've done for the last 8 years in keeping off every single pound of my 50 that I lost has been doing the same things every single day. Yeah, my plan, my nutrition plan and so forth changed over that time, but the principles, these principles that Amber just explained, remained exactly the same. So I eat within an hour of waking up every day. I eat every 2 to 3 hours to fuel my body. I don't eat a lot of junk anymore because I don't crave it anymore, because of just kind of going through working with my health coach, going through our curriculum that we teach, this Habits of Health, and learning how to modify my behavior.
So before we get into any more details, we wanted to have Lori Muse come up and share her personal journey with health with Take Shape for Life, and this is inspiration for you guys.
I didn't expect there to be so many people. So I have notes because I get nervous and then I forget everything. Oh, sorry. Okay. My story's still going, but I've pretty much always had issues with my weight. In our family, you celebrate with food, you medicate with food, it's entertainment, it's comfort, it's all of those things, and that's how I was raised. And so I've really always struggled with my weight. I've never really been at a healthy weight most of my life. In college, I was fed up, and so I went on a really popular diet at the time, and I lost a lot of weight, but I didn't learn anything. I just learned how to lose weight, and even that, it wasn't healthy. It wasn't a healthy program for me, and it wasn't something I could sustain. You know, I lost quite a bit, but it came right back on really pretty quickly. After my third baby, I realized I'd hit a number on the scale that I never in my entire life thought I would see. I was blown away by it. I was shamed by it. But at the same time, I was really struggling to care that much about it. Eventually decided, well, I'll just go back on that same plan that I did in college, even though it wasn't healthy. I was desperate and I wanted to lose some weight. I started to lose a little bit of weight, and then just really was having a hard time getting any more of it off. About that same time, I found out that I had celiac disease, and I thought, okay, great, another food issue, another problem with food for me. And you know, I started to learn a little bit more about inflammation, learn a little bit more about food allergies, and started to educate myself a little bit more. But any of you who have been gluten-free, you know it's really, really easy to replace gluten with sugar. And that's what I did. And so the weight started to come back on again. Not long after that, my friend Amber called me and she said, you know, I've been doing this program and it's changed my life. I've kind of watched you over Facebook with your celiac disease struggle. And so I just want to share what I'm doing. And so I listened to her for a while and I just said, you know, thanks, but I'm good. I know how to lose weight. I can do this on my own. And hung up the phone and promptly did absolutely nothing except pack some weight back on and keep going in the direction I was going. Well, a couple of months after that, she called me again and she just said, I can't get you out of my mind. I just really feel like let's just talk a little bit more. And so for the next 3 days, I attacked her with questions. And really what I was trying to do is prove this all wrong. I was trying to talk myself out of it, not hold myself accountable for what I was learning, and really just disprove everything she was saying to me. But I just had this gnawing feeling. And finally just said, okay, I'm going to pray about it. Because that's just me and that's how I work. And I got my answer that I needed to do this. And I was terrified. But I thought, well, you know, at least I'll just do it for a month. And at the end of the month, we'll see that it's not really working. Well, I lost 20 pounds at the end of the month. And my energy was up and I felt really good mentally and physically. And it has changed my life. The education that I've received to really make those internal changes, because it really is all about what's in here. And the weight loss is just a side effect of the brain changing. And I didn't have that before, and I didn't want to cry. But it's given me who I really always have been, that I never could be. I have the confidence now to find out what I do and don't like. I have two sisters who are marathon runners and CrossFitters, and they've always tried to get me to come with them, and I never wanted to because I didn't want anybody to see me fail. I didn't want anyone to see me in workout clothes. But a couple months ago, I went with them to CrossFit, and I finished the workout, and I hated it. But now I know that I hated it, and now I have the courage to find out if I hate things or if I like things. I have the courage to try things that I never had the courage to try before, and that's been amazing. It's been amazing to get up in the morning and not stare at my closet and say, which yoga pants and sweatshirt am I going to wear today, because that's all that's going to fit. And then at the end of the day, to still be in my clothes that I put on in the morning and not have changed into yoga pants as soon as I got back home. So I'm so grateful for the education that this has given me. I'm grateful for the way that it has allowed me to be who I really am. I'm so grateful for my health coach. She's incredible. This program really does change lives, and I'm really grateful.
That's awesome. I love Lori. It's good to cry, you know, let those emotions out. That's what I say.
I never regret.
Everyone laughs who knows Jared. I'm like the first one to cry. So our habits of health system, and we have our little poster here of that too. That's a big part of what we do. That's part of our behavioral modification program. And really, there's a workbook. You put pen to paper. And magical things happen when you put pen to paper versus just hearing someone talk about something. That really, it's about finding your triggers, finding out how your brain is working, what kind of changes that you can make for emotional eating or for how you're dealing with stress, just different things like that.
Yeah, so Lori just shared her weight loss experience, but also her life experience. If you notice the 6 steps that Dr. Anderson has established as part of the Habits of Health program, you notice that weight loss is step 2. And I actually spend a lot of time talking to my personal clients about step 1, because step 1 is a step that you take every single day for the rest of your life. Planning out that day or planning out that week, knowing that you're going to have good food around you or what your schedule is so that you don't get caught somewhere and you don't feel your body for an entire day. That's how I used to live. I would go 8 to 10 hours at work, never eating. I'd come home and I'd want to eat the house, right? But the house didn't taste good, so I'd find something else.
Ice cream.
Ice cream.
Yeah, it's so true. So you just have to sometimes ask yourself a couple of questions to see if you're ready to start making a lifestyle change. Because too many times people will just decide that they're going to go on a diet, right? And we all know how well that turns out. It doesn't turn out very well. What's the percentages?
85% of dieters regain their weight within 2 years, 90% within 5 years. Someone who has 100 pounds to lose, less than 0.1% keep their weight off.
Yeah.
So.
And that's not meant
daunting.
to scare you. It's
right.
meant to, that numbers are people who diet. So people who make lifestyle changes with behavioral modification and support from a community, their numbers go way up. And so that's the point here. Like you said at the beginning, there's a lot of different ways to lose weight, but that's not even the issue.
Right. So ask yourself a couple of, do you want to be healthy? If you don't want to be healthy, I'm sorry, nobody's going to ever be able to help you. Ask yourself, we talk to a lot of people who are like, well, I'm going to keep doing this and stuff. Well, is it working for you? If it's not working, wasn't that Einstein's definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. Can I accept help? Accepting help requires a lot of humility. We're all proud people. Believe me, I know all about pride. It was the hardest thing in the world to let my mother-in-law help me. It's not a relationship you want with your mother-in-law. Then you're one down, right? It's like, you don't want to owe your mother-in-law.
And I think that some of the point here is asking for help. A lot of this stuff, the work that you're going to be doing tonight when our speakers come up after us, it's something that I'm just going to be honest, you probably can't do it alone. It's not something that you can just go home and just be like, I'm gonna just work on this myself and I'll be fine and I don't need anybody. It's probably not something you could do alone. And that's part of the point, is that having someone to partner with, having that support community is so important.
Absolutely. So we really have 4 main components of our program. We talked about the Habits of Health, our curriculum. Health coach offers one-on-one support. Oftentimes, the word coach comes from the European word K-O-C-H-H, right?
I feel like I'm in a spelling bee.
Yeah, it is. So like stagecoach, it was a vehicle that transports people or things from one location to another. And oftentimes a coach asks you difficult questions that you're unwilling to ask yourself, or that you don't want to answer yourself, right? So, but we're really here just to encourage and support. We're not here to spank you or slap your hands or yell at you or anything like that. We've all got kids. So we gotta keep that energy focused.
Well, the point is that the coach isn't perfect either, so
Right.
we'd have to spank ourselves.
Everybody's, if you want to be on this journey of health, you're on it for your entire life. You have to deal with your health every single day. So are you going to deal with it getting better and trying to improve it all the time, or are you just going to let it slide and not pay much attention to it and see what you get?
Yeah, so we also, the next component that we utilize in Take Shape for Life is fueling your body. And it's so important to put high quality fuel into your body. You need to make sure you're getting the proper nutrition. You need to make sure you're balancing your macros. You need to make sure that you're getting probiotics, because all the scientific research shows that 90% of your immunity is contained in your gut health. So are you really taking those strides to make sure you're putting high quality fuel into your body? And so that's why we have fuelings that we believe in our company, so that you have high quality food that you can feed to your body, making sure you're getting what you need. And that is a huge combatant to emotional eating, honestly, that you're not starving yourself, you're not depriving yourself, that you're just constantly putting good fuel into your body.
Yeah, so some of our different nutrition plans, we have nutrition plans to fit every single need. So some of our most popular ones, like for weight loss, are a 5-in-1 or a 4-in-2, where someone uses 5 fuelings and 1 meal that we call lean and green meal, lean protein, non-starchy vegetables, for a more sedentary lifestyle, or a 4-in-2 for a higher activity lifestyle, or an exerciser. We also have a lot of other individual specific programs that people will use based on individual needs or diseases, things like that.
Like if you're wanting to build muscle versus if you are nursing a baby, your nutritional needs are going to be different.
Right.
So we'd love to bring up Missy. Oh, here she is over here.
She drove all the way from Davis County for
Give
us.
you guys some inspiration tonight.
Hi guys. So I started my journey with Take Shape for Life 2.5 years ago. I've been in a pretty rough spot. I've given birth to 4 children. I had a couple miscarriages in between there, so it's been a kind of a rough 7 years. Throughout high school and even into college, I was athletic. I played sports. I never really learned about nutrition. Our coaches focused on carb overload. Yeah, carb overload. And stop it Olive Garden before our next game and really pack yourself in with carbs. And so when I thought about ways to lose weight, it was exercise and carbs. That's kind of what I thought. And so I really didn't have any knowledge at all of nutrition. And so after my last pregnancy, I had gestational diabetes with my last 2 pregnancies, and my sweet husband was pumping full of insulin all during my pregnancies. It was a rough period. And it's not something I wish on anybody that's pregnant. And luckily he was willing to give me the shots and do what he needed to do, because I wasn't able to do that on my own. And so we made it through that last pregnancy, and the nurse was really sweet during delivery. I said, I just really want a Dr. Pepper. I can't wait until I deliver this baby. I've been trying so hard to eat healthy, and I just really, really, really want a Dr. Pepper. And she looked at me and said, you're going to be a diabetic for the rest of your life, right? So I went home. I was so angry. In fact, I still get like, I'm super angry at her, and I was angry that I'd gotten to the point of even being in that situation to start with. And it was really hard for me to see myself that way because forever I was athletic and I felt like I had things under control. So I went home and I thought, okay, I'm going to figure this out after I had a few Dr. Peppers. That's why I'm here tonight, right? Still emotional eating. So after a few weeks and some hard talks, I decided that I was going to join a gym and start working out really hardcore. I had 4 young kids. They were six and under at that time. And so it was Saturday mornings really early. My husband leaves for work at 4 in the morning. So if I wanted to go anywhere, it had to be super early or really late at night. And that's pretty tough when you have 4 little kids at home. So I fit it in where I could and still didn't have the eating part handled at all. It was still coming home and completely offsetting any exercise I was doing. And so I kind of just felt defeated. I thought, well, this is my life. I'm going to be overweight, probably going to be on insulin for the rest of my life, like that sweet nurse told me. Sweet. And this is just going to be me. My kids are my life now, and this is just what happens when we're this age and we're raising children. And so I kind of felt defeated. I just kind of decided I was kind of giving up. And luckily I ran into somebody, a really sweet friend of mine. I teach preschool out of my house, and her little sweet son was in preschool with me. And I watched her journey, not knowing what she was doing, but I'd watched her journey and I watched her just kind of melt away. And I was afraid to ask her because nobody wants to talk about their weight loss. It's super uncomfortable for a lot of people. And it's a very vulnerable place for a lot of people to go there. And so I asked a couple of her friends that I knew really well that had had numerous children of hers in preschool. So I asked them, and they were like, you've got to talk to her. It's this cool thing she's doing. And I'm like, I don't know about that cool thing, right? So I finally got up the nerve one day to ask her, and she's like, I'd love to tell you about it, of course, because she's a sweet coach. And so she did. And even then I was like, same thing. I'm going to prove this program wrong. I'm going to be the one it doesn't work on. There's no way this is possible. And so I started. And I kind of lost like a guy. I hate to say that, but I did. My weight loss was really fast. My body was craving the nutrition. And so I responded really well to it. And within a couple weeks, I knew this was something different. I had energy like I've never had before. I felt good. I just knew that this wasn't a diet. And so I decided at that moment, I had a few people that were asking me what I was doing pretty quickly, but my husband especially was like, hey, you're not leaving me in the dust. Let's go. So I hopped on a plane and went to National Convention to see what this company was all about. I feel like I really value people's morals and where they're at. And so I wanted to get firsthand knowledge of what this company stood for. And I came home and I was like, this is it. I found my passion. And my husband's like, you're a teacher. You already have your passion. What do you mean? I'm like, it's perfect. It goes hand in hand. It's to help people really progress in their health, and you get to be an answer to somebody's prayers, just like my coach was for me. And so since joining Take Shape for Life, I've helped lots and lots of people, and their journeys and their stories are always way more inspiring than my own. In fact, when Jared asked me to share my story, I'm like, can I just pick one of my clients because they're awesome, right? And those are the ones that we love, and we love to share everyone's stories. But it's given me hope in my children's future. There was a few statistics that really scared me. And one of them was that they may not outlive us, right, our children. With the way that things are heading, it's not looking too good. And being little preschool kids and seeing their nutrition and what's going on even at that age, it was really eye-opening for me. And so I've been able to help a lot of people, but really it's just helped me. Coaching has been so invaluable in so many ways for my family, and it's created a life that we can be proud of.
Missy at that convention. She was like asking all these questions and she was so excited. I'm like, who is that? I like her.
And like she wanted to ask one of her clients to come share, but she's one of the clients on our team, so we're inspired by her. As Missy was talking, she mentioned gestational diabetes, and here's where I start crying. This afternoon I was talking to one of my brothers, and he a different brother, my younger brother, was married to his first wife for about 8 or 9 years, and she had gestational diabetes with their second son, and took horrible care of herself, and so she became type 2 diabetic, and she just thought that medicating herself with insulin was fine. She ate fast food every day. She was never overweight. She was actually very underweight. And she took such horrible care of herself that my brother couldn't be married to her anymore. It was affecting their marriage. It was affecting their 2 boys. And so they divorced. And just a couple of weeks after their divorce, he got a call that she went into yet another diabetic coma. And most of them, she would come out of those comas within 3 or 4 days. And this one lasted for about 3 weeks. And she came out of that coma with the mental capacity of a first grader. She didn't remember her 2 boys anymore. And my older brother called me this afternoon to let me know that she passed away last weekend. And she was 35 years old. We have control over things like this. We don't have to go the hospital route where our health, in the words of several of our friends, doctors who have implemented Take Shape for Life programs into their practices, they say our healthcare system it's not health, it's not care, and it's not a system. All it does is medicate people and treat symptoms rather than create health in their lives. So that's why Dr. Anderson walked away from a multi-million-dollar practice 15 years ago and said, I'm going to change the health of America, and then we're going to go out into the world. So, one of the biggest parts, I love Missy's ambition in going to our national convention that year, right while she was in the middle of her journey, because that's what changed our lives too, is engaging in the community. University of California, San Diego did a study over a decade ago now, but they followed a heart, in correspondence with a heart study over a 30-year period. And essentially what they found was that obesity and health patterns are socially contagious. That they typically, regardless of geographic location, demographics, anything like that, that people would follow the same health patterns as about their closest 5 or 6 friends. The highest relationship was woman-to-woman friends, with 171% likelihood of following the same health patterns. Within a spousal relationship, only a 58%. So I make sure that she has really, really healthy friends. So our community is really really key. How many clients or health coaches do we have here tonight? These are all our family now, and we often joke that, like, I grew up with a dysfunctional family, and Take Shape for Life is my functional family. So some of the greatest things that you find in life is when you find people who have the same values, and it's a beautiful thing when health is one of those primary values.
So honestly, as you get healthy, people start noticing, and this is where there's a fork in the road. So sometimes you refer people to your health coach and say you have to talk to him or her, they can help you, or you may decide to go the route to help them yourself. And who in here is familiar with 12-step programs? Have you ever heard of the 12-step program? Okay. What's the 12th step in a 12-step program? Anyone know? Yeah. Sponsor someone else, serve someone else, pay it forward. And that's what this part of our program is about. We found that people are 5 times more likely to reach and maintain their healthy weight, to have that long-term health, when they sponsor someone else, when they are reaching their hand out, even if it's one person. And that's what it really means to be a health coach. It doesn't mean that you're perfect. It doesn't mean that you've figured it all out all of a sudden. It means that you're ready for that next step and to really step it up.
So I want to share a story. I'm sure it's okay with them. Chantel is Amy's coach. And how much weight did you lose, Amy? 35 pounds. And she looks fantastic. And she always talks about how she feels fantastic too. And Amy was referring a whole bunch of people to Chantel. And Amy came back and she's like, so how are my friends doing? And Chantel's like, I can't get a hold of any of them. None of them will return my call. And she kept urging Amy to help them. And she's like, no, I want to help them and stuff. And finally, after a little bit of time, Amy's like, I understand what's going on now. these people are not going to get help unless I'm the one helping, because I'm the one that has this relationship of trust. The same thing happened to us with Amber's mom 8 years ago. Is we actually said, hey, we'll coach, but we started about the same time as I started on the program, and her mom was trying to talk to them as their coach, but they were talking to us. And she actually said, she basically asked me, she's like, Jared, do you dislike money? And I'm like, no, I don't dislike money. And she's like, well, just coach them because you're coaching them for free right now, and I'm getting paid. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So it was actually a blessing to us. So some of the incredible benefits of coaching for us have been, I call it real health insurance. We pay a lot of money every month for health insurance.
Who's loving Obamacare?
Last year when they said that they were going to increase my premium to almost $2,000 a month, I was done with it. But I wanted to stay healthy so that I wouldn't ever have to pay on top of the premiums, pay all the out of pocket and everything like that, all the deductibles. So I try to stay healthy. Freedom and flexibility. Amber and I are full-time health coaches now and have been for the last several years, and we get to work wherever we go in the world, and we have complete freedom and flexibility. For the last 8 years, I've been able to coach my kids in their sports and stuff, and a lot of the parents that their kids are on my team, they're like, how do you take this time in the afternoon, middle of the work week and stuff, to coach these kids and stuff? We really appreciate that. And I'm like, because I have complete flexibility with my life. So another thing is my old job and Amber's old job, we didn't feel like we were contributing a great deal to society, to the world, to people's lives. So it's been an incredible benefit. And even when we first started and we just had a few people we were helping, it made the biggest difference. Whereas in our old job, we're always entrepreneurs. We would call our customers or clients and they would yell at us for stuff. And now we get to cry with our clients a lot in celebration because they've reached their goal weight, or they're off medications, or they've got more energy. I had a client several years ago that she called me and said that her husband went to get the mail for the first time in 18 years. And I'm like, is that a big deal? And she's like, yeah, it is. He had such horrible neuropathy in his feet that he couldn't walk that far. And I'm like, how far is it? And she's like, probably about 100 yards. So we have to change people's lives and be part of that.
Well, and one thing I wanted to mention, home-based business, next month is tax month. You guys looking forward to that? And Donald Trump said before he became President Trump that every person should have a home-based business. I mean, tax write-offs, right? So it's interesting.
Yeah, but to have tax write-offs, you have to have write-ons.
Yeah, that's
right.
Gotta have a write-on, have a write-off. So just so that you get an idea of what it could mean to help a couple people with being a health coach, let's say you had 5 friends that you were helping with this program, friends that you were helping, holding their hand, linking arms with them, saying, let's work on our food issues together, let's get healthier, let's eat right, let's go walking, whatever it is. You get paid over $300 a month to help a couple people. Or maybe you want to help 25 people. And that looks like making over $2,000 a month, very part-time. Common amount of time to spend is about 1 hour per client per month. So then that's usually just about 10, 15 minutes a week per person.
Yeah, so for over $2,000 a month, you're spending a few hours a week.
Real quick, before we go on, anyone who's a coach, go ahead and stand up real quick so I can see who's coaching. Okay, awesome. Welcome. Oh, I love you, coaches. Okay, the 5 active clients is called a senior coach. Go ahead and stay standing if you're a senior coach or above. Okay, and the 25 active clients is about an executive director. So stay standing if you're an executive director or above. Awesome. So go to the next slide. So past executive director, go ahead and stay standing. Real quick, stay standing. Okay, they already know the next question. So go ahead and stay standing if you're a regional director or above. National director or above, global director or above, and presidential director. Hey, Kyra, how are you? I saw you.
And Jan was back there.
So Chantel and Jared and I, oh, Jan was back there too.
She was.
Okay. Chantel and Jared and I are presidential directors. So basically, all this means is that we are helping people to create health coaching practices who help more people. So that is literally whenever anybody makes any sort of money in Take Shape for Life in Optavia, then all it means is we're helping more people get healthy and to get onto that road to food freedom and really just life freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. So, these two wonderful women told their stories, and our 8 years ago, our life was in shambles. She had gotten healthy physically. I wasn't yet where I wanted to be. I started on that journey, but we had a lot of stress in our lives. I had a failing business because of huge government changes and regulations, and a couple of awesome partners that did some illegal stuff. And so you see at the top, that is the top of the notice of our bankruptcy. And that's actually why her mom actually reached out to us. She's like, I know that you guys are going through some real struggles, and I know that health has been a part of your lives. And I think that this would be beneficial to you guys. And we didn't know how much and so soon that we were going to absolutely fall in love with blessing other people's lives. But over the last 8 years, we've been able to travel to terrific places because that was always a dream of ours, that we would teach our children things by taking them places rather than just reading a book or going to the Google. And honestly, a lot of our health community came from our love for volleyball. How many people in this room came from our love for volleyball? And how many came from those people? Right? So we just love enjoying life, and that's kind of our motto of our company, is organizing your life around what matters most. And our physical health, our mental health is a huge part of being able to have contentment and fulfillment out of everything that we do in life.
And about a little over a year ago, there's a saying that says, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. Have you guys heard that saying before? Mm-hmm. Well, I think that I became very familiar with that quote. And over a year ago, I got a phone call from my doctor, and what I heard on the other end of the line was, you have a brain tumor. And it just really hit me because I was a healthy person. I take care of myself. I eat right. I exercise. I had a little bit of a pity party, like a why me moment. But really it brought me to a realization that it's true, that if you don't have your health, you really don't have anything. And then hearing about my sister-in-law dying a few days ago, really, it's true. And I was lucky that I found my tumor early. I was lucky that angels pushed me in the shower and I got a concussion, and I had a doctor who forced me to get a CT scan that we found this tumor, because if we hadn't found it, it could have been 4 or 5 years away from complete blindness or death. And as I went through that brain surgery over a year ago, I felt the love of our community, our Take Shape for Life community, and that's what we're about. I had flowers sent to me, I had phone calls, I had DMs on Facebook, and people visiting me that I'm sorry, I don't remember you visiting me. So you could say you visited me. I'd be like, thank you. But going through that, it was such a testament of how grateful I am for this program. I'm grateful that my husband works from home, that we didn't have to hire home hospice help because I couldn't walk by myself or remember to take my medication, or I couldn't go to the bathroom by myself. I needed help with everything. And my doctor in my last visit, he was just blown away by how quickly that I'm recovered and how well that I did. And he said, you know what, whatever you're doing, you just keep doing it, and you need to tell a whole lot more people about it, because having your health and even going through something, a non, weight related thing with your health, if you go into that healthy, you're going to come out the other end a whole lot better. And so that's just something that I learned. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything.
So that's what that is. That's the old tumor, and it's up there. So
Yay.
we're glad. If anything we've talked about so far is it seems like a good fit for you, reach out to the person that invited you. Be part of our community at whatever level you're ready for right now. We do have, we want to let you know about another upcoming event that we have. It's really, we're great friends, and one of our mentors is Dave Blanchard from the president of the Og Mandino Group. And he's asked us to speak on Friday, March 17th, and one of our mentors in Take Shape for Life is speaking the next day. And he's doing this 2-day event all about personal development, entrepreneurship, and things like that. So there's a link right there for anybody associated with our community, and they go through this link. This event is $99. For everybody else in his community, it's well over $300. So he loves us, and so he always blesses us.
Yeah, no one's making money off of that
Yeah.
$99. I'll tell you that. Between the Loveland Aquarium, the facility where it's at, and they feed you both days, and just all the speakers are speaking for free. So it's that's just covering costs. I'll tell you that.
Sure. So we are going to take a quick break, like 5 minutes. So run to the bathrooms or fill up your water or whatever.
The bathrooms are right out that door to the right.
And then we're going to kick off our Wendy Squared time.
Wendy Squared. I was talking about Chevy because I'm working it out. I'm going to be stick back here, so. together at the same time. I'm one of my reciprocators.
So we've seen her on the internet. Oh, really?
We're done. We love breaks. I love my VA lunch. I'm like the happy Missy. I love it. We still get together sometime. Lunch and get to lunch. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and start finding our seats. And then we're gonna have okay, Chantel's gonna go ahead and introduce our first speaker.
Hey, we're so excited about our two speakers. So, like Jared said, two Wendy's, Wendy squared. One is with a Y, one is with an I. So we're gonna have Wendy with Y first. Wendy Hendry come and speak to us, and she is a best-selling author. And I'm gonna read her bio in just a minute, but I just have to say how amazing she is. I worked with her for 4 years now, and 4 years, almost so. And yes. And I have personally read her book. In fact, I got to read it before it even was hot off the press, and I was blown away. I was like, this is an amazing book. It helped me so much just with my own emotion, just everything mentally, and also I was able to help a lot of my clients through this. So it's a tried and true method. It's not just like this theory, we hope this works. It's very, very tried and true. So she's going to share her personal experience with us and tell us a little more. So here's Wendy's bio. Listen to this. Wendy Hendry has been in the health, and fitness industry for over 15 years, as well as being a fitness instructor and owner of Sweaty Chicks Fitness. Anybody Sweaty Chick? Yeah. She has motivated people in her role as health and wellness coach and entrepreneur. Wendy's book, Weight Loss, W-A-I-T Loss, The Keys to Food and Freedom and Winning the Battle of the Binge, hit #1 on the Amazon bestseller list just hours after it launched. Her approach has helped thousands overcome emotional eating and food addictions. Wendy's passion is helping people realize they have the power to conquer any compulsive behavior. You guys believe that? She's going to show you how. Wendy received her bachelor's degree in microbiology from BYU, and along with her husband Ron, founded BioLink Corporation, an antibody recruitment company. She currently lives with her family in Lehigh, Utah. When she's not helping clients or at the gym with her husband, she is found reading Jane Austen, contemplating the amazing blessings that God has given her, and arguing politics with her children. So Wendy Hendry.
It doesn't say that I'm a slob and my poor husband, or we and that I was a binge eater for 35 years, that I fart in my sleep, and I pick my nose when nobody's looking. All right. How many of you guys have heard the two voices in your head? There's one that says, eat the donut, and one that says, probably should eat some broccoli, right? How many have heard those voices? Yeah. So it's because we have multiple parts of our brain. There's actually 3 parts, but I combined 2 of them. So right here, this is the part that's called the limbic system. It's the first part of your brain to develop. So even when you're born, you already have it. It's the reptilian brain. So lizards have it, snakes have it, animals have it. And when a lizard goes to eat another lizard, it doesn't stop and think, is this lizard going to make me fat, right? It just eats the lizard, right? And that's because we all have this brain, and it's the same. It doesn't think, it doesn't reason, it just does. It's in charge of our survival. It's important. We got to have it. We'd be dead without it. But when a bear's going to chase us, it's that part of the brain that tells us to run. Then there's a middle part of the brain it's like the mammal brain. Dogs have it, mammals have it, and it has to do with feelings, with emotions. But for what we're talking about today, I'm combining those two. So we'll just call those the animal brain. And then the last part of the brain to develop is this top part, the human brain. It doesn't even fully form until you're in your 20s. So you guys have teenagers? Help me. Yeah. Can you reason with your teenagers? No. Can you use logic with your teenagers? It's because they don't have a brain. They do not have this prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is what makes us us, and we're going to talk more about that. So, all right, so I did this whole presentation, the PowerPoint, it was awesome, and then my daughter showed me how to use the animations, and I had to redo it. That's why I was sitting out there redoing my entire presentation. So check this out. Yeah. So the prefrontal cortex, it's thoughtful, logical, sensible, wise, analytical. It's what makes you you. Even if you didn't have a limb system, you'd still be you. Well, you'd be dead, but you would have this part of your brain, okay? The limbic system, it's impulsive, it's irrational, it's manipulative, it's pleasure-seeking, it's jittery, it's anxious. And when I say it's a clone, I mean that we all have the same one. So there's no difference between your limbic system and my limbic system, really. There's no difference, really, between my limbic system and a rat's limbic system. And so keep that in mind, that it's the prefrontal cortex that makes you who you are. All right, so the prefrontal cortex is like the wise adult. And a lot of people call that the adult brain. If you read books by Jack Trimpey, and I'll give you some really good books to read on it, Catherine Hansen, most doctors, they call it the higher brain or the adult brain. And it's because it's wise, right? And it's thoughtful, and it's analytical, and it's logical. Well, what does the limbic system sound like? Right? It's like a kid throwing a temper tantrum. And so this is really important when you come to realize that you can separate these two brains and you can respond to your limbic system with your prefrontal cortex. They're true, you have to separate it, and we'll talk more about that. I call it in my book, I call this part, the limbic system, the brat. Jack Trippey calls it the beast. Catherine Hansen in Brain Over Binge calls it the animal brain, I think, right? All right, so when you have a kid that's throwing, how many of you guys have kids? How many of you guys have kids that have thrown temper tantrums? Yeah, right? So when a kid throws a temper tantrum, what happens if you say no to that kid? They want it more. Yeah. What happens if you argue with that kid? Argue back. Yeah. What happens if you get frustrated and angry with the kid? Right? You just can't respond. Any kind of response you give to that kid is going to just make it worse because they're all in the limbic system. It's like a pot of boiling water. And you know, if you can keep water simmering, it just kind of stays the same, right? Once it hits the boiling point, it's over. I mean, it is what it is. And that's kind of how this limbic system or the amygdala works, is it's sort of like a pot of water. And if you can stay in your simmering or don't let it boil over. You know when you go to eat a bite of a cookie and then you say, screw it, I might as well eat the whole rest of the kitchen, right? It's because you're starting to boil over and you're getting into your amygdala. It's the same thing when you're trying to reason with anybody. My husband and I, we got in kind of a little tickle because he didn't like what I was wearing, and then I tried something else and he didn't like that, and I tried something else and I didn't like that. I finally just said, it's me you don't like, right? And I kind of started to get upset. I kind of started to get into that boiling point. And once you're there, you might as well not even argue with anybody because you can't simmer it down through logic, through any kind of talking. Just step away and let it calm down. Okay, so remember that when you're on a fight with your spouse. It doesn't help to try to reason, argue, even talk to somebody when they're in. Have you guys read the book Listen? Has anyone read the book Listen? No, it's really good. I recommend it. He calls it an amygdala meltdown, a limbic system meltdown. Might as well just not even try to deal with anybody when they're in an amygdala meltdown. And who wrote that? Pardon? Who wrote it?
I think it's Just Listen. Is it
Just Listen? Yeah, that's it. I don't know. I can't. It's on my phone. I can look afterwards. It's really good. But he uses it more in communication with people. But it's the same thing with our eating. When we get into our amygdala, when we go into autopilot, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. This part of our brain just kind of shuts down, and we're sort of at the mercy of this limbic system. So the key is to not let yourself go into amygdala meltdown, to not let yourself go into autopilot, in other words. How many of you guys have found that sometimes when you're eating, you're in unconscious mode, you're in autopilot, right? Yeah, that's amygdala meltdown. And so it's important that you don't allow yourself to go there. And that's what this whole mindfulness stuff is all about, that your health coaches are teaching you or that you hear about. I remember when I first heard of mindfulness or awareness, I thought, man, what is that? Like, it just sounded like some new age weird thing. And then Dr. Anderson came up with Stop, Challenge, Choose. And I was still binging at that point. And I remember I did not even comprehend the word stop or choose. When I was headed for a binge, it was like trying to stop a locomotive. Like you couldn't stop me, just couldn't. I was in amygdala meltdown. And so if you can learn to keep it on simmer or less, you're going to be in good shape. You just don't let yourself go into autopilot, and it's possible. How many of you guys have heard that eating disorders, addiction in general, that they're diseases, illnesses? How many of you guys think that they're illnesses or diseases? Yeah, I mean, that's what we've been raised to think, right? I went to OA, I've been to 12 steps, and you're told that it's a disease, that it's an illness. You know what? It's a crock of barf. It's not a disease, it's not an illness, it's a habit. And it's kind of a habit gone rogue. And I talk about that a lot in my book. It's a habit gone rogue, which means it's propelled not necessarily by a reward, but more by the urge or by the craving. But you can create neural pathways anytime. I mean, when you move and your kids have to go to a new school and you learn to drive to a new school, you've created a new neural pathway, right? I used to, okay, here's something I don't tell very many people because it was really shameful to me. But I had trichotillomania. You guys know what that is? Where you pull your hair out. And when I was in 8th grade, it was about the time I started binging, and it was when my parents got divorced, and I had a big bald spot. And you can see I have a big bow on my hair in my 8th grade picture. And I did that clear up until I married Ron. We've been married 20 years, and I had never told anybody that I had trichotillomania. And Ron, when we got married, he noticed, and my ex-husband never even noticed it. He didn't notice that I gained 80 pounds either, so Ron noticed. And instead, he's so, Ron's the best. Instead of telling me or shaming me, he noticed what I was doing, and he would just touch my hand. He would just come up and touch my hand. And it probably went on for 5 years, where he would just slightly touch my hand. And slowly it got to the point where every time I started to put my hand up to pull at my hair, I would wait for him to touch my hand, even if he wasn't there. And so I quit doing it. It's still kind of thin because of all the years, but it's not too bad. I don't have to wear it up in a ponytail all the time. And so anyways, years went on. I haven't pulled my hair in a long, long time. Well, as I was doing some research for my book and I was learning about habits, I learned about something called habit reversal training. And it's used a lot like when people bite their nails or with any kind of like compulsive thing like that, biting your nails or anything. You can substitute the action with a different action. So the way that a habit loop goes is it starts with a trigger. So say, for example, I'm nervous because I'm stressed about money, right? There's my trigger. And normally I would bite my nails, and then there's kind of a release of anxiety at that point, right? So they've learned that the action, the part of the nail biting, for example, you could take that out and replace it with something else. My daughter is a good example. She did this without even realizing it. She was a nail biter from the time she bit her nails when she was inside of me. Like she never not bit her nails. And all of a sudden she was like 13. She was starting to get embarrassed of her hands. And she started tapping on her tooth like that. And so every time she brought her hand up to bite her nails, she'd tap on her tooth. And it took a little while, but now she has long, beautiful nails. And that's habit reversal. And it was the same thing. I realized, looking back, that's what happened with my hair. Ron helped me create a whole new neural pathway. And you can do the same thing with any addiction. Right now, I'm helping my son who smokes because you can do this with anything, not just eating, but really with any addiction. So I'm going to go into a little bit of details about how to do that. Okay, there's our kid right there. It's a cute kid. I would take him even with the temper tantrum. All right, so what's the best thing that you can do when your kid's throwing a temper tantrum? Breathe, ignore it, right? It's, oh, eventually it goes away. If you don't, it just gets worse. And it's the same with these habits we're creating. We've been feeding these habits like my binging. Every time my limbic system threw a temper tantrum, I would feed it. And so it just got worse. The groove, the neural pathway just got deeper and deeper. Instead, you gotta learn to just ignore it. Don't fight with it, because what happens when you fight with it, right? Don't get frustrated with it. You just sit with it. You just sit with it and ignore it. Because here is the key. Whether you feed a craving or ignore a craving, it's gonna go away. Because what you're doing is you're getting rid of like an uncomfortable feeling, right? And we're gonna talk more about this in just a second. But when you have a craving or an urge, it's kind of an uncomfortable feeling, right? And so we eat or we smoke or whatever to get rid of that uncomfortable feeling. But guess what? Whether you feed it or not, the uncomfortable feeling is going to go away. So next time you have a craving or you have an urge, see if you can't just sit with it. Don't argue with it. Don't get frustrated. Just kind of embrace it. That's a little uncomfortable. I guarantee you it's only going to take days before the uncomfortable feeling doesn't show up. I have a guy I'm working with right now one-on-one, worst binger I've ever worked with. He is in his mid-30s. He binged every day after work. He would go to 4 or 5 different restaurants, get dinner at all the different restaurants. He's about 300 and something pounds, 2 cute little kids, a great, amazing wife, this amazing business. and his doctor gave him 2 years to live. He said, if you don't stop, you have 2 years to live. He was on 9 different medications. And so we've talked about this. We've been working now for about 5 weeks. He hasn't binged for 3 weeks. It's the longest in 10 years that he hasn't binged. And he told me the other day, he went to Tucanos. He said it was his favorite restaurant, and he ordered some, his whatever it was, his favorite food. And so he said he allowed himself to eat so much, because I don't necessarily think restriction is the way to treat your limbic system. So he said, I'm going to eat this much. And then he stopped, and he said, I waited for the uncomfortable feeling, and it didn't come. It was so mind-blowing for him. That was a couple weeks ago, and it hasn't shown up since. He's in Mexico right now, and he texted me yesterday from Mexico. His blood sugar's down to 92. He's off 7 of his 9 medications. He's down like 10 pounds, and all from not binging. All from not binging, because that new neural pathway is starting to take effect. I'm telling you guys, this stuff works. Addiction is not a disease. It's not an illness. It's just a habit gone rogue that you can fix. So learn to just sit with the uncomfortableness. Learn to just sit and ignore that feeling. All right, so when a kid is throwing a temper, I can't remember what this one is. I have to let a thing come in so I know what this is. Okay, so when a kid's throwing a temper tantrum, one of the things I had on the list was that the limbic system is manipulative. Your kid's manipulative. Yeah. When they're throwing their temper tantrums, before I pop all these things up, tell me some of the things that your kids say to get their way when they want something. I deserve it. Yeah. What's
You don't love me.
I hate you. Don't you love me? I hate you. Yeah, I forgot. My 18-year-old tells me that. What? Everyone else gets it. Yeah. Yeah. We've heard them all, right?
I'll stop if you give it to me.
I'll stop if you give it to me. Exactly. Let's see what these say. Why are you being so mean? Marcy, where are you? Marcy, help me with these. She has little kids. My kids are all older. Their manipulation is a lot more expensive. My friend's gonna do it. I'll be good, I promise. I deserve this, right? Well, what does our limbic system say when it wants something? You let me have it last time. Why are you being so mean to me? My friend's gonna do it. It's all the same stuff, right? There's all these excuses that your limbic system is gonna throw at you. You just have to listen for it. It's fascinating. It is a sneaky bastard, that limbic system. I'm telling you, if you really listen, you're gonna hear some crazy manipulative things. Like, I've been to the gym today, you've been to the gym today, so you can have that. Or how about well, you already had one, so you might as well have them all. Right? There's a ton of them. Right. So listen for them. It's fun. It's really fun. You can make it into a game. Okay, I don't remember what this one is either. Okay, so what causes a kid's temper tantrums? Here, I gave you one. What else causes a kid's tired, fatigue, bored, hangry, yeah, stressed, right? Yeah. Fatigue, illness, hormones for the teenagers, stress, right? There's a ton of them. Well, what causes our limbic system amygdala meltdowns? Overstimulation, fatigue, illness, hormones, stress, right? Anything that takes extra energy, and that's an important thing to remember. Anything that takes extra energy is going to cause some issues. Like, what about women's temper tantrums, right? What about when you're pregnant? All these things require extra energy, and here's why. Oh, no, that one. Because the brain needs glucose. The brain is fueled just like the rest of our body is. But here's the thing, the limbic system, it can never run out of fuel. What would happen if your limbic system ran out of fuel? You'd die. What if a bear came and it couldn't work? You wouldn't know what to do, right? The prefrontal cortex, on the other hand, it's disposable. You can take it or leave it. And so the body shuts this part of your brain down when it needs extra energy. So girls, when we're on our periods, our body's using extra energy. And so we're going to have cravings. We're going to want things. And that's another thing that I need to go over, in my slides were out of order. First, let me give you some tips really quick. You want to recognize those two voices that you hear. You want to stop and you just want to hear them. Go sit on your couch next time you have a craving and just sit and listen and see if you can't hear what the conversation is going on there. You want to make sure you separate that lower brain, separate the breath. That's not you. That's an it. It's just an it, or generally for me, it's a man because he gets grouchy and mine's a dude. And then you want to take note of those excuses. If you can carry around a little notepad for a week and write down every excuse that you hear, I guarantee you you won't be binging, you won't be emotionally eating, because it gives you that pause, it gives you that time that you need to keep the pot on simmer and to not let yourself go on to boil. Okay, I'm all out of order here and I'm not sure why. Oh, we shouldn't go there yet. All right, I think it's not on there. Let me just tell you then. So, oh gosh, can't remember. Dang it, it was so important.
It'll come back.
I turned 50 like a couple weeks ago, and it actually, my brain came out my vagina with each kid. Just a little piece with each kid. So I can't remember, but here's the key. You want to just remember, hate that. Yeah. Oh, okay, I got it. So, when a kid is throwing a temper tantrum, he's usually telling you something like that he's hungry or that he's sick or that there's something that he's telling you, right? It's the same thing with this limbic system. Think of it like an alarm clock. Put the kid away for a minute and think of your limbic system like an alarm clock. All it can do is scream at you. It can't pull you out of bed. It can't go open the fridge. It can't even pick up a fork. All it can do is yell at you. But at the same time, it's alerting you to something. So when you're having a craving or an urge, it's alerting you to something. And if you take the time to listen to the excuse and then to just sit and pause with that uncomfortable feeling, you're going to start to figure out what it's alerting you to. It could be alerting you to the fact that you're stressed, right? Or that you're tired. And what we do is we take this food and we try to stuff down these uncomfortable feelings that we have instead of taking care of what this thing is really alerting us to. So if you can just pause, then you start to get in tune with what your body really needs. Maybe you need a nap. Maybe you need to do some breathing, some stress reduction. And it's really uncomfortable at first. When I stopped binging, my emotions were kind of all over the place because I wasn't used to feeling those crazy things. If any of you guys have been like on 5 and 1, it's happened to my clients before too, where they just have total, complete breakdowns. And it's because they're so used to stuffing these uncomfortable feelings with food, they're not used to feeling that. But I guarantee you, it mellows out after a while. And so just let it happen. Just sit with the uncomfortable feeling for a little while. Just sit with it and see what happens the next time you have a craving. And carry around a notebook and take notes of all those excuses because you get a good laugh out of it, I promise. All right, so I was ending with the glucose. So the body and the brain are fueled by the same thing, right? And this front part of your brain, it runs out of glucose sometimes. Have you ever had the afternoon munchies, right? Have you ever had a problem at night where you eat a little more? It's easier to have self-control in the morning than it is in the evening, right? It's because by the end of the day, you're tired. It's like a cell phone battery. And by the middle of the day, it kind of runs out of charge. That's where meditation comes in, by the way. You can take some meditation time in the middle afternoon. You'll be surprised at how much extra willpower you have at night. But my point with this is that it's important to take care of your body. And so it all comes back around to the habits of health, right? And if you're not a Take Shape for Life client and you don't have this book, go to your coach's website and get one of Dr. Essen's books, because it all comes down to fueling your body. I do these workshops, these 8-week workshops, and the first 4 weeks of the workshop is simply learning how to take care of your body. Because if you're not fueling your body right, this part you can't really work with it, because this is one of the first things to run out of energy. And it literally just freezes and shuts down, and you're at the mercy of this breath. And that would suck, right? To be at the mercy of your 2-year-old's little temper tantrums, it can get you in a lot of trouble. So what are the things we need to do to take care of our body? eat every few hours. Oh, see the animations, right? They're so cool. You need to balance your carbs and your protein. You need to drink your water. Mindfulness, we've talked about that. Activity, getting in enough sleep. You take care of all of these things, and it's going to be a lot easier to take care of this thing. You'll have an advantage, basically. So it's not that it's perfect, but it does make it a lot easier. And so then you put into practice all these other things that we've been talking about. You can conquer anything, literally conquer anything. There is nothing that you cannot do if you just put your mind to it, okay? Do you guys have any questions or anything? I put my website there. If you have any comments, concerns, complaints, go to Amber, Chantel, or Ron. Yeah.
The author of that Just Listen book is Mark Golding.
Mark Golding, that was it. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Oh, some other good books on the subject. Brain Over Binge, of course, Catherine Hansen. I love that book. She's amazing. There's another one called, it's yellow. It talks about habit and and the willpower instinct. If you haven't read Kelly McGonigal's book, The Willpower Instinct, really good book. And then, of course, 15 Commandments of Conscious Leadership. That is great. Love it. Love all those books. You guys have any questions, comments? Nice. Done it. Great.
Grab a copy of the book, WAIT Weight Loss. Amazing book. It reinforces a lot of these things. So thank you. Was that not so helpful? Extremely. I love whether you feed a craving or ignore a craving, it goes away. Like, I knew that, but I didn't put that into words. I don't know. I just love that. I'm going to be thinking that every time. I wish I knew that this afternoon. But anyway, so you guys, on to the next Wendy. Wendy with an I. I am so honored to have worked with her for several years now. And Wendy's just one of those people that when you're around her, you just feel calm. I don't know. I just need her in my life more. I have her in my life a little bit. I just always want to be around Wendy. So she lives these things that she's going to teach you just incredibly. And I love that these two subjects are kind of coming together. We kind of arranged these two subjects because I feel like they're different enough, but alike enough where you got to get both sides of the story. So I'll let her kind of share more, but I wanted to read a little bit more about her. So Wendy Christensen has over 21 years of experience with being a licensed social worker. Wendy graduated with her bachelor's and master's degree in social work from BYU. Wendy has worked with a wide variety of clients and situations, including the elderly with hospice and home health, a part-time ER crisis worker at UVRMC, 8 years as a social worker, and over 12 years running her own practice, which she currently operates in Kaysville, Utah. When Wendy worked for Provo School District, she oversaw 9 schools, including a young mother's high school and special needs school. She ran several grief and divorce groups. She served as a member of the HOPE Task Force, providing grief counseling and education surrounding suicide, and piloted the HOPE Squad suicide peer prevention program that runs throughout the state. She has taught over 1,000 elementary students in Provo School District as a certified instructor, the Good Touch, Bad Touch curriculum. She also is certified in helping her clients through muscle testing and energy work to accelerate healing and forgiveness. In 2008, Wendy made the decision to stay home and become a full-time mom. She has 1 daughter and twin boys that keep her very busy. She continues to run and operate her part-time counseling business, helping marriages, individuals, and families. She also became a health coach 3 years ago and loves helping others find tools to be healthy, physically, mentally, and financially. She loves being able to have the best of both worlds, helping people and raising 3 beautiful, busy children. Wendy Christian. We've accomplished a lot.
I'm not as quite as entertaining as Wendy.
I'm a little more simplistic as far as putting things together, but simple is good too, right?
I'm actually going to build a lot on what Wendy talked about because it's truth, right? And you just build upon truth. So I'm going to build upon being mindful, kind of what she was talking about, or having your mindful of stuff or being mindful, right? Because
we talked a lot about emotional eating. I'm going to build upon emotional eating with some other, maybe some deeper feelings and emotions that we experience that goes along with it. So back to this. We're back to the two-part brain. I knew she was going to put that in there, so I was going to build upon it. Am I good here? Okay. So the amygdala, you heard her mention quite a bit. And really, it's a lot of fear and judgment that comes. And Wendy talked about it being like a child. What I want to ask you guys, because we also have that prefrontal cortex, which is a lot of love and wisdom. So in your world, looking at the amygdala, which causes a lot of, it's the fight or flight, right? That's the protecting. I got to protect myself. I got to do everything possible to protect myself. And then your prefrontal cortex is everything that's going to bring a sense of wellness. We're going to talk, I've got another slide here in a second. But before I move to that slide, what are some ways that you judge yourself? This is audience participation. What are some ways? It can be through eating. It doesn't have to be through eating. What are some ways that we might get into that amygdala thinking and judge ourselves?
I think we do the like, I'm not a good enough parent or doing a good enough job that way.
Yep. I'm not doing as good as a mom. My kid throws a temper tantrum. I think I'm a horrible mom or parent. What was that? The way my clothes fit. Yep.
I think just the whole scarcity in any part of life.
Yes.
There's that it's not enough, that we're not enough. I don't have enough money. I'm not happy enough. Whatever. Everything can be not enough.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought up scarcity because it is. It's exactly where your scarcity mindset comes from.
Comparing myself to other.
Comparison. Comparison is a big judgmental thing. They've got more than I do. It's comparing yourself to the Joneses, right? I had neighbors who were Joneses.
I had a client who was comparing her weight loss to someone else in Facebook support group who was losing weight faster than she was.
Yes, that is coming from your amygdala comparison, weight loss especially. What do we do as women? 90% of what we do as women is involved in this. Body shaming, right? It's body shaming. Is it the same for men? No. Do you know what it might be for men? 30%. Weakness, anything that would be considered that they're weak. The weakness in area. It could be a job, it could be a career, not providing. Yeah, but for women, it's body shaming. It's how we view ourselves. And it's what we think of ourselves. And that mostly comes from the amygdala, that crazy part of your brain, that limbic system that talks to you that way. So they actually did a study, just very few, 2011, that was conducted at Harvard Medical School, and it showed with 8 weeks of meditation, and I walk over for a second. I don't know if you guys can tell, but it actually thickened the frontal cortex of their brains. And it was only 15 minutes of meditation 3 times a week. That's all it was. And the results were an increased thickness in that prefrontal cortex. And what's in our prefrontal cortex? It's you. It's the real you. It's the wise, true you. And just 3 times a week, 15 minutes a day, you were able to thicken that prefrontal cortex. So what we've done is we've taken that, and now it's kind of like the end thing, right? Meditate. But there's a reason behind it. It actually does do something for you. Some of the things that they found, this is in 2014, I'm not going to go over every single thing, but reduces perceived stress. Because don't we have that sometimes where something seems really overwhelming and stressful, and yet in reality it's not as big. We're making it bigger than it really is. That comes from the amygdala. It enhances your quality of life. It decreases your sleep disturbances. People who wake up a lot during the night, have a difficult time sleeping, they're centering more in that amygdala, that fear, that judgment. That's where surviving and functioning improves. It actually improves domains of cognition. The sympathetic activation enhances the cardiovascular. Anyways, those are some of the benefits. I love doing this. So again, that's why we're looking at, is your mind just full of crap? It's just busy, 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 or are you trying to make it more restful and getting into a better place, a better state of mind? Mindfulness means paying attention in a particular way on purpose, in the present, and non-judgmentally. Not worrying about the future, not focusing on the past, just being present with the here and now. I have 6-year-old twins, and they're so funny because lately they start getting stressed, and my one little boy, he's just a hand, he's so funny, and he will sit there and he'll go, I said, where did you learn that? It's like, oh, some TV show. I'm like, that's good, keep doing it, because he's the one who causes me stress. So I'm like, keep doing that. It's really funny, and sometimes he'll say Indian style. So it is really, really important. It's funny, when I first started health coaching, I was like, oh, yeah, I know the habits of health. I just want to lose weight. Just get this weight off of me. And I didn't realize until I started coaching, and I taught this, but it didn't like click in my prefrontal cortex mind. It didn't click that, no, this is critical. It's critical to your well-being to practice mindfulness. So again, remember when I talked about just that 15 minutes a day, 3 times a week, strengthened that prefrontal cortex. So here's a few things that you can do. Do a body scan, paying attention to any tension or stress. That's kind of what Wendy was talking about, just sitting and just being. And I'm going to teach you 2 specific techniques tonight, because I love it when I can give people tools that they can walk away with. So that's my goal, is to give you some tools that you can walk away with, okay? Start your day with basic yoga sun salutation. Where's Marcy? I was rooming with her this weekend, and she stepped out there. She was, and she's like, I gotta do my yoga for the morning, and she's over there doing all this deep breathing. It was cracking me up, but I was like, way to go, Marcy! That's so awesome. I'm sure she was building that prefrontal cortex. That's when we went to a conference recently. Take a break to check in with your breathing. Did you know that deep breathing, like if you're a singer, I'm a singer, when you do those deep diaphragm breathings, did you know oxygen automatically relaxes your body? So I'm going to have you guys do it for a second. I want you to all take a deep breath down into your diaphragm. We're going to do 3 of them. How do you feel? Doesn't that help? 3 deep breaths. I always do that right before when I'm really stressed with the kids. If I want to go yell at them, I'm like, okay, deep breath. Okay. But it automatically relaxes your body, that deep breath, and it helps you be calm. Have you ever noticed when you're anxious, what happens to your body when you're nervous, when you're fearful? You tense, you tighten, and your breaths become shallow because you're going into that fight or flight. You have shallow breathing. Relax at the end of the day with a guided meditation. There's some really good ones online that you can find, by the way. Okay, so I want to teach you, I told you I wanted you to walk out with a couple of specific techniques. So this is a technique I learned a few years ago, and it's called Come to Your Senses. There's a book, it's written by Stanley H. Block. Because we're experiencing I'm not going to talk about just emotional eating, I'm kind of going to talk about just these feelings: fear, stress, tension, pain, insomnia, anxiety. When you come to your senses of taste, touch, smell, sight, and sound, you begin to control negative responses, free yourself from a paralyzed state of mind, and live a happy, balanced life. So I learned this technique actually at the VA. I went to a conference at the VA hospital up in Salt Lake a few years ago. And it was interesting because the guy who presented it, he was working with a Vietnam vet who had nightmares, and he had a really difficult time sleeping. He rarely slept. And so he applied this technique, this come to your senses technique. And the guy, when he came back, he said after like a week, he's like, I am sleeping better than I've ever slept before. And his therapist was like, great, what are you doing? And he said, well, I'm applying that thing that you told me to. So this is what it is, and I'll tell you the rest of the story for him. So when we're in that amygdala, kind of in that fight or flight, we're just trying to be present. You have 5 senses, right? What are they?
Taste,
Touch, sight, smell, sound. Okay, so I want you to tune in right now. We're going to tune into one of your senses. So if you want to do touch, like if you're sitting on a fabric chair, reach down and touch it. And I want you to like really invest in it. Like the touch of it, is it smooth? Is it soft? Is it rough? Is it patterned? But we're going to put you on hold for just a second. I want you all for just a minute to think of a current problem in your life. Whether it's I don't like where I'm at weight-wise, or I'm having a problem with my teenage daughter, or I'm struggling with finances, or somebody yelled at me and they hurt my feelings. Okay, you guys got a current thing in your head, your brain? Okay, think of that. Really ponder it for a minute. So you're feeling, okay, I had a discussion with somebody, or I'm really stressed about my finances. How are you feeling?
Uneasy.
Uneasy, stressed, and not. Okay, now keep thinking of that problem in your mind, and I want you to tune into either the sound of the fan going on the projector, or feel your chair. Focus on your problem. I want you to focus on your problem. But while you're focusing on the problem, you can listen to the cars going down the freeway. Focus on your problem, but I also want you to focus on the fan. Focus on your problem, but focus on the fan. What are you finding?
It's really hard.
You can't do both. You can't do both. Was there anything taking more precedence?
The other thing that I was thinking about was
I heard the car
thing.
You heard the car? What happened to the problem as you focused on your senses? I hope it worked.
Yeah, I didn't even hear the cars before. Like I didn't know you could hear the cars until you said it.
You start focusing on the sound, or focusing on the cars, and the problem kind of goes into the background. And so instead of your problem being right here, where you can't see past it, your problem moves out here, where you can start seeing past it, just by focusing on another sense. And I'll tell you, I put this to the test last night. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna make this work. So I give them an example. So I had a friend come to Finland a couple weeks ago, and they have the best chocolate. She brought us 10 massive chocolate bars and truffles. And so I thought, I'm going to focus on one of those chocolate truffles. Is spots or? I should have brought you some. I'm trying to get rid of her. That's it. I was focusing on my chocolate. I'm like, okay, it's my chocolate, it's my truffles. And I really wanted to focus on it. I was making that my focus. And so a lot of times we get into the restrictive mode, right? Where I want it, but I can't have it. So I did that, and then my husband actually, I don't know why, but he flipped on the water. I think he was trying to get it warm, because it takes our water a little while to get warm. So it was just sitting there running in the sink. I'm like, I hope he doesn't turn it off for a minute, because I want to really practice this. So I was focusing on my chocolate, and I really wanted to go get one of those truffles. And then I just listened to the water. And I started focusing on the water, the sound of it hitting the sea, and pretty soon the truffle just went to the background. And I was like, oh, I don't even want it, I don't need it. It's the same thing. It can be, like I said, the fabric, the chair, sheets, if you're in the bed, are they soft, are they hard, do they have a texture to them? Listening to water running down the drain, listening to the cars. The fan, that's why, what's the noise? White noise, thank you, is so effective in helping kids sleep, because they can tune out everything to help them to sleep and to relax, or a fan if you've used that. So let me tell you the rest of the story for this Vietnam vet. His therapist asked him, what was it that helped you? And he said, I have this old dog, and he sleeps with me, and he snores. And I started focusing on his snoring, and then rubbing my blanket and feeling the texture of it. And he said, I have slept the best I've ever slept in the last week.
because he focused on his snoring dog in the sheets. So, but I have used this, especially for clients that deal with anxiety. It's been really helpful for them to do it. It's a great technique for post-traumatic stress, things like that. So come to your senses. So I hope you guys can now think of, it could be smell, it could be sight, could be like relaxing, calming pictures that you're really focusing on as well. If you're in the shower, it's a really good thing to focus on the water just going down the drain. All of those things he talks about in his book. And just kind of, it's just another form of another distraction, getting from the amygdala part of your brain to your front portal, your front part. Hey, Kat, you're gonna love this. Kat and I love Brene Brown. We love Brene Brown. So we can only love others as much as we love ourselves. When I first read that, I disagreed. I thought, what is she talking about? Of course you can love other people without having the full love for yourselves, right? I really challenged that when I first read it in her book. She has The Gift of Imperfections and Daring Greatly. They're both really, really good books that talk about shame and vulnerability. But if you stop and think about it, can you, if I have a self-hatred, if I don't like myself, if I'm judging myself, and I'm talking negatively to myself all the time, is it going to make it easy for me to love other people? I guess yes, no. Can't pour from an empty cup. If my bucket is empty, it's pretty hard to fill anyone else's bucket. And if I don't have any love, now I'm not talking like a narcissistic love. I'm talking about a healthy, like, I love who I am, and we're never perfect. None of us is ever perfect. But I'm talking about a good, healthy love for who I am. And if I don't love myself and I'm constantly hating myself or shaming myself or feeling constant guilt, then how am I going to help others, and how am I going to love other people? Because really life is about the relationships that we have with each other. And if we're constantly guilting ourselves, it's kind of like, who was it on the Zoomer the other day that said, it was you guys. If I said, it was you, John, that said, you told Kat, tell us, if you talk to her the way she talks to herself,
Yeah, he said,
you can never get away with it.
You the way you talk to yourself, if you didn't like you. Like, no, be jerks. I can think I say to myself, I'd be so mad at you.
Yeah, that's what we call negative self-talk. Because we all talk to ourselves. Just admit it, you all do. And I talk out loud sometimes to myself. My husband's like, are you talking to me or are you talking to yourself? I'm like, it's just me, I'm talking to me. But we talk to ourselves all the time. And if that self-talk is negative, you start believing it. You are going to believe it. And so you have to learn to switch that and find that love for yourself. So I'm going to teach you some steps to do that. The power of forgiveness. I forgot. I was going to have a build up to that. Here, let's go back. So how do you think? Forgiveness. How do you think you can learn to love yourself? Yep, it's the power of forgiveness. This is one of my favorite subjects. I love to teach it because we have a lot of misconceptions about forgiveness. And so I'm hoping to teach a few things that are going to help, because our bodies are literally full of energy, right? You learned that in science class, that our bodies have energy. They have positive energy, they have negative energy. When we go along in life and we have these relationships, we are going to be hurt and offended. Is there anyone in here who's never been hurt or offended? We all get hurt and offended. It's just part of life. And there's usually two types of people that hurt or offend us. There are those who seek revenge. They're out to get you. They want to get you. And then there's the people that are the opposite. They're the ones that always are getting hurt. They're the ones that things are always happening to, or the ones that are seeking revenge are always taking it out on them, right? So what happens is when we become hurt or offended, our body just kind of sucks it all up, takes it all in, and it resides inside of us. And guess what happens to all that negative energy? It becomes depression, anxiety, it becomes fear, it becomes health problems, becomes weight issues, it becomes unhealthy bodies, sicknesses, illnesses, and we're walking around as a very sick community because of all of these things that we're stuffing inside, right? And if we don't have anything to do with that, it's just going to create more and more chaos. When I'm working with my teenagers, I like to tell them it's kind of like a soda. What happens if you continue shaking a can of soda? Pretty soon it's going to explode into anger and all these other things. So I said, what we're going to do is we're going to tap on it. We're just going to slowly tap on that can, slowly open it and let the anger out through this technique, through the power of forgiveness. Because what happens through the power of forgiveness is it allows your body to let go of all this negative energy and to be free. It's kind of like leaving a huge load of bricks behind, and it allows your body to be free. But we put a lot of conditions on it. We say, I'll forgive when they tell me they're sorry. I'll forgive, but I'll never forget. Well, I'm not going to forgive because it's going to protect me, right? I hear that one a lot. It'll protect me. But does it really? Who does it hurt the most? It's like one of my favorite quotes is, withholding forgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Yeah. Right? So if we know it's such a blessing, why is it so hard to do? We know it's going to bless us. Why is it so difficult?
Sometimes there's a payoff. We get to feel right.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's more important than feeling better.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
Depending on where you're at in your life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Uh-huh.
Yeah, have fear, what's gonna happen?
Good point.
So what's gonna be the consequence of coming to forgiveness?
Mhm.
Whatever.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you brought that up because I want to talk to that. Yeah, Wendy.
So you really just
Yeah.
Like I remember somebody said something mean about my boys and I hated them so bad and I right. I like that.
And it does serve a purpose for a while. You know, it can serve a purpose, especially if it's something like a big thing, like abuse. You know, when I'm working with somebody who's been abused, we don't jump to this really quickly. We process a lot. Because you do need to do a lot of processing. I do want to come back to the one thing you said too. Somebody, boy.
when you don't forgive someone, it feel like you're in control.
So,
Perception.
okay, so if you don't forget, for those who didn't hear, if you don't forgive somebody, it gives you the sense of being in control or powerful. If you don't forgive them. Yeah. I can delay it. I can postpone it. I can put it off. Yeah. Yep. Good one. Yeah. Jan or
I think sometimes if we don't forgive, if we do forgive, we feel like that we are controlling what happened.
Thank you. Very important point. If we don't forgive, we're condoning. Just because you forgive does not mean what happened was right. So many times I hear that over and over. I think that's why we withhold our forgiveness, because it wasn't right. It wasn't at all. So perfect example. And not to pull, I'm going to pull Jared. Not to pull religion in, but I'm going to pull religion in really quickly. Because it's really hard to teach this with just an example, whether you believe in Christ or you think he was a great teacher, but was he not the perfect example of that in forgiveness? The perfect example, like had he done anything wrong? No, nothing at all. But did he still exercise forgiveness and forgive the people that were crucifying him? What a perfect example of forgiveness. Doesn't mean what was happening was right, but he was still willing to let it go because of a greater purpose. Am I right?
Towards myself that I don't deserve it.
I don't deserve it. Okay, I like that. Yeah.
Can we define forgiveness and what exactly we're talking about when we say we're going to forgive someone?
I'm going to.
That we
Yes.
know what we're talking about.
Yes.
Otherwise, this is really making me very anxious.
Good. That's speaking.
I deal with narcissists, and this is making me really anxious. Everyone's like, you have to forgive. And
You know what? I'm glad that you brought that up, and that's okay. Because a lot of times we think if I forgive, that means I need to be all loving, all embracing, and all accepting of the person I forgive. That's not true. That is not true at all. Because I believe very strongly in forgiveness, and the next step is action. Because I need to take action. So the forgiving might be forgiving them, but pulling out of a relationship. Especially if the relationship is abusive, get out of it. That's a lot of what I talk about with people. Forgiveness is to help you and to heal you. Action steps are the smart thing to do. That's when you get back to that prefrontal cortex. The forgiveness allows you to deal with, it's again pulling it from here to here. It doesn't solve the problem, but it takes it from here. It pulls it out to here. It gives you the wisdom to deal with the problem. And I promise it will give you the wisdom to deal with the problem. Because if I pull it out to here, then I take action. If I'm looking at a weight problem and I pull it out to here, then I'm going to be able to see the things that I need to do to take action to lose the weight, right? If I take a problem, like if I'm working with somebody, say I'm working with a wife who's being abused, I pull it out to here, we will set up a safety plan. Okay, what's your action? What do you need to do next? But her holding on to all of that it's not going to benefit her. Maybe it's not forgiving right this minute. It might be as we get down the road to doing those things.
You and I had a talk about this once. I don't know if you remember, but that forgiving doesn't mean giving permission.
Yes.
And that's a really important thing, that it's still not okay.
Yeah.
But it's like you said, forgiveness is fair. Remember
I knew that.
it was on the bus and yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't, yeah. Forgiveness is not giving permission.
I remember that.
And you got to remember who is a blessing. Yeah. It's not blessing the person, it's blessing yourself. And I have something else I'll give you after that will help. Okay. Yeah. It does.
Sometimes we talk about forgiveness as so definitive, and we like things very defined, and it's that.
Yeah.
I've run my 4 miles, it's that, right? But forgiveness sometimes is a process, and it comes in layers.
Yes, and I'm going to talk about that. Part of this will help when I give you the steps, okay? So I'm going to move on and give you the steps because that's going to help. Again, just what we were talking about. Doesn't excuse their behavior. It prevents their behavior from destroying your heart. That's what it does. Again, we're going from this part of our brain, moving it to the front part of our brain. Okay, I want to give you some specific steps. You ready? I know I got lots of people taking pictures. We should put this up somewhere where they can have access. So.
I can post it in the event.
Okay, yeah. Okay, we ready?
you got it.
Okay. Oh, great. Steps of forgiveness. Okay, so this is this. I got trained. I got my good friend here. Got trained in this through his name is Jan Graff, stress management that I do and practice. So this originally comes from him, and I've just tweaked it to my own. So these are my steps to forgiveness. There's 4 steps. The first one is you need to say your forgiveness out loud to yourself, because who needs to hear it the most? You do. It's so much more powerful when you say it out loud. It's you being able to hear what's going on. You're smiling because I taught you this, haven't I? You need to hear what's going on. And sometimes you might think reason A is why you're angry and upset. And then as you start saying your forgiveness out loud, you're like, oh, that's not even close to why. This is why. So sometimes it's even just to help you figure out what it is you're actually angry and upset about. I'll have people come back to me and they'll say, Wendy, I tried your forgiveness steps and they don't work. And I'm like, you're not forgiving for the right thing then. You haven't got to the right thing. Keep at it. Because if they're not working, you're not getting to the right source of your forgiveness. You're not hitting the right issue. The shower is a fantastic place to do this. In the car when you're by yourself, I do that a lot. I have my kids use this.
My daughter at school, one day she came home and she was talking about getting her feelings hurt. And for her, I said, what did you do? Because I tell them, just go to the bathroom and do it. She's like, I couldn't go to the bathroom. I said, what did you do? And she said, I said it in my mind and it helps. So there are occasions when you do have to say it in your mind, but the more you can say it out loud to yourself, the better it is.
Can you give an example of what you would
Yes.
say?
I'm going to. Oh, hold on. Sorry. You want to keep it in the present tense. Don't postpone, like we were talking about postponing it. Don't postpone or delay it. You're going to say, I forgive. Not, I will forgive. I should forgive. Someday I'll forgive. I'll forgive when. That's postponing and delaying it. You don't want to do that. You want to say it immediately. Be specific as to who you are forgiving and why. The more, like, I forgive so-and-so for the specific reason. Because the more specific, the better. So you wouldn't want to say something like, I forgive my mom for everything she did when I was growing up. Okay? You're going to have a memory pop into your head of the one time when your mom got really mad at you, and it's that memory that stays in your mind all the time, that I forgive my mom for telling me to go put my toys away right in front of my best friend, and it made me really embarrassed. That's how specific you want to get. Last step, be genuine, and remember there is no limit to your forgiveness. I'll explain that. So, I gotta take this. Get out of the way. I'll forgive you for that. Okay, so I'm going to give you some examples. So this is kind of a general one. As far as the fourth one, there are two things we usually don't ever forget. Our guilt, our own junk, things we've done ourselves that we feel guilty of, and our hurts, things that other people have done to hurt us, right? We remember those. How many of you have been going down the road and all of a sudden you have a memory pop in your mind and you start getting angry about it or frustrated or crying over it? Anybody? I have. Yeah. Okay. Our minds are really powerful things, right? They have all that stuff in them. And so that's why number 4 is there. Because there may be a time when you really have forgiven, but then a memory pops in and starts disrupting and bringing some anxiety or bringing some anger back into your life. You need to go back and forgive that person. So for example, let's say back in 8th grade, Susie stabbed me in the back. We were best friends, and then she took another friend of mine away from me. And I was really angry and really upset, and it hurt my feelings, and we quit being friends. We weren't friends anymore. Life moves on. I haven't seen Susie in years, right? Then I go down to my local Walmart one day, and lo and behold, I run into Susie. And she's got 3 kids now, and I've got 3 kids. And how are you doing? And we talk about our kids and our families, and it's like, oh, it's good. I just moved here. Oh, that's great. And we just have a chat, right? Do my shopping, and I go out in the car. And my mind starts going, I remember in 8th grade when Susie was so mean to me. She stabbed me in the back and she took my best friend away, and right, our memories start going. Guess what we need to do? Go back and forgive. You forgive Susie because it's causing us some anger and some frustration. And I promise, it seems really simple, but your body will, if you pay attention to your body, you get into that place of mindfulness, your body, you'll feel it release. You'll feel the forgiveness. Actually lift that negative energy from your body. Yes? This is just for you, yourself, yes. Yeah, I'm not talking where you go to, I wouldn't go back to Susie and say, hey, Susie, I forgive you for, because she could have moved past it and it's not bugging her at all. Because there are times when we are offended and the person has no idea, right? I remember a lady one time I was working with, and she said, my neighbor knocked on the door one day and said, I forgive you for the way you pulled out of your driveway the other day. She's like, what? You didn't need to do that.
He could have kept it to himself. So yes, this is something that you do with yourself, unless it's a situation specifically where you need to go like ask for forgiveness, or somebody's come to you and specifically asked you for forgiveness and they want your forgiveness. But other than that, this is just for you and your benefit, to bless your own life. Absolutely. So Chantel, you were asking me an example. I'll give you a real life example. I struggled for 6 years with infertility. Well, I pretty much all married life with infertility. But for 6 years, I was going through testing and had a major surgery and had like stage 4 endometriosis and had just lots of stuff, surgeries and all kinds of things. And any of you who've ever dealt with infertility, it's a journey. It's an emotional journey. It's really hard. And so I was doing that, and I was working at Provo School District and driving there every day. And I lived in Eagle Mountain at the time. So it took me a good 40, 50 minutes to get to work. So one day I'm driving along, and back then, it's changed now, but back then it was 65 miles an hour. There was one intersection where people could come out of this other section, and they could pull out, and it was just 2 lanes. This is when it was 2 lanes. I have friends here from Eagle Mountain. Now it's 4 lanes, but it was 2 lanes back then. So I'm cruising along, I do my 65, but I thought, okay, I know people pull out, so I slowed down a little bit, maybe to 55. This lady pulled out in front of me, and I was going so fast, I almost rear-ended her, and I had to move over into the other lane, and I was so grateful that there wasn't another oncoming car, because I would have struck it. And I was so angry, so mad at her. And then what really ticked me off, I looked in the back of her car, and she had a baby. And I thought, how dare you put that little baby at risk? Like you could have, I was inches from slamming her. And I'm so mad, and I'm so angry. And I thought, how could you do that? And then I had to take a few deep breaths because my heart was just pounding and pounding. And I started forgiving like crazy. I forgive that lady for pulling out in front of me, for making me slam on my brakes, for putting her child at risk, for making me veer into other traffic. And I just kept going over it, probably for 15 minutes. I had to say it over and over. I was so angry and so upset. And by the time I arrived at work, guess what? I was calm. I wasn't worked up. I wasn't frustrated. I was fine. And I didn't have to go and tell all my coworkers, do you know what happened to me this morning? I was able to go about my duty, I was actually heading to View High School. I was helping kids. And I was able to go and just do what I needed to do. And it didn't affect the rest of my day until I got home. And then I got home, and my husband's like, how was your day? Do you know what happened to me this morning? I was driving to work, and this lady pulled out in front of me, and then I started telling him the story, and guess what? I got worked up again. I got angry again. I got frustrated again, and he said, sounds like you need to forgive. I'm like, I already did this morning. But that's where support came in. I had to go back and forgive, because there's no limits. There's no like, hey, you're done. You don't need to do it anymore. I was able to use step 4, and I was able to forgive again. So I forgive that lady for pulling out in front of me. I forgive her for this and that. I practice what I preach. I use this all the time. I use it with my kids. I teach them. I use it when I'm angry with them. Sometimes I'll say to them, I have to go in the next room and do some forgiving because I'm so angry at you right now. And I need to go calm down. And I will. I'll walk in the other room, and I'm like, forgive him for this. Forgive him for this. Forgive him. Forgive it, or whatever he's doing that they are doing. And it really does. It helps your body to release it, and it calms you down. And then that's when the action comes in, because then I'm calm, and then I can go back and I can take action. That's a case, actually with my kids, that's a case where I am able to take action, because then I can think clearly, okay, what's the consequence I'm going to do? Do I need a consequence? And I'm able to deliver it more clearly, because after you forgive and it clears your mind and it gets your body rid of that negative energy, you're able to deliver the action. And it could be a big action, it could be a small action. And sometimes we just need to forgive and let it go, and that's enough. And then sometimes we need to forgive and we need to take action.
I think oftentimes we think that forgiveness is for the other person, that we're forgiving so that they can feel better about the situation. When in all actuality, it's actually for us. It's for us to be able to let it go and release Because that's what builds up, you don't forget it, is you build up all this bitterness, and then you're doing it, not them.
Exactly. It's drinking the poison and expecting the other person to die when you don't. When you try to hold on to it, it does really keep you in bondage. Really what it is, it's the atonement in action. There you go. It's an everyday practical way to use it. That's what it is. Great. Do I have any? Let me see. Oh yeah. Well, let me stay on this for a second. Do I have any questions about steps to forgiveness? So Chantel, did I answer like what to forgive for? Did I help answer defining forgiveness a little bit better?
Just a comment.
Yeah.
Like when there's big things that I'm working on forgiving, I do it morning and night. And so
That's great.
it helps you sleep better. And then it starts your day out nice too. Because every day you're gonna have added stuff.
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely. I forgive every day.
Work on some really deep things.
Well, and some when there are big issues, because I've dealt with some pretty heavy things, like I'm talking like abuse and rape and suicide and stuff like that. You do need to process longer. That's why I'm saying you don't just jump to this. I take those clients through a lot of processing before we get to the forgiveness steps. So that's a reclaimer. If you need to process, make sure you're doing the right processing with the right way that you need to. But eventually, you still need to. Oops, sorry. Did I just click it?
No, you're good. You're good.
Eventually, you're going to have to get here at some point in time if you're going to truly find peace in order to love yourself. Because again, it goes back to when we love ourselves, we can love others. And when we love others, are we not blessed? Right? Don't we want to share and help others when we're feeling that ourselves? Somebody else have, yeah. And then Curtly. The one in the blue. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make a comment also. When I was in California, I went to Chapman University, and they started the Holocaust studies there. And I met people, you don't call them victims, they're survivors. Of the 39 club that Schindler was in his camp. And he go through everyone, every person's name. But I saw the effects of some of what had happened to them during the Holocaust. And I can tell you, I've never met more gracious and forgiving people. And what I took away from that was that you cannot fulfill your own destiny unless you control.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you for adding that. I hope you guys heard that. Curtly.
Just for people keeping with this, Loving What Is by Byron Katie, like changed my world with letting go of resentment.
Awesome.
So it retrained how I thought, so I could let things go. Not that they're okay, but I understand them a little bit better.
That was great.
It's an obvious association that just in the context of emotional eating, we have to go through this process for ourselves. Before, whatever size we are, to start with, I give in to emotional eating. We have to do this for ourselves.
Absolutely. You can use this for emotional eating because it's, again, when you're in that amygdala part of your brain that Wendy was talking about, that limbic system, and maybe we did do something and we're feeling a lot of shame and guilt and trying to let it go. Maybe you're just like, I'm trying to let it go and I can't. Do this. I forgive myself for eating that whole pan of brownies. I mean, it sounds stupid. Like, people challenge me on this. I'm like, just do it. Just try it. But it'll allow you to move on and go, I forgive myself for eating that pan of brownies. And I'm going to commit to myself to do this or do that. I'm going to try this and I'm going to do this so that I can move forward and I can move past it and I don't sit and dwell in the sewage of guilt and shame.
I know you can check that.
Sometimes I think a lot of that actually goes back to your mindfulness. And as you sit and practice mindfulness, do some meditation,
those things are going to start popping up, and you're going to start seeing it in your relationships just naturally, where you're going to need to forgive. And if you sit and listen to your body, it'll tell you. Because the wisest person, the person with the best answers for you is you. That was one of the main things I learned when I went through grad school is you're just there to help the client. They have the wisdom. You're just there to help them discover it. So if you can sit in that state, it'll come, because when you do things to build that prefrontal cortex, this is your inner wisdom. It has your answers. They're all there. You're just tapping into that. And so I think that will help you to start, if you feel things creeping up that, oh, this is bugging me, and sometimes you don't realize it at first, and then you're like, I keep thinking of that over and over and over again. If you find yourself dwelling or ruminating on something, guess what you need to do? And it can be something from the past, or it can be current. It can be a current thing. Okay, a couple more comments, and I think I need to wrap up here soon. Yeah.
Just quick one, it's something I've learned over the last 10 years. I've gone through divorce now, I've been home before, and I've been through the counseling, and the things that I have learned through the counseling is that if it doesn't affect your eternal salvation, then don't worry about it. It's things, I used to get offended over the littlest things, or get mad about the littlest things. And now it's just like, things don't bother me.
Yeah. It's interesting. The thing I love about this, you don't even have to be a particular religion. I work with all types and kinds and atheists and everything. But I still teach them this. But the thing that I love is that no matter what, it gets back to healing the self. And as you heal the self, you're able to do the things that you need to do to accomplish your life's work. Was it Jen? Did you have a comment?
I was going to say, when you said that, we really do have a listen inside it. Because so it was really powerful for me. It was that you are in a situation where you're not sure what to do. Kind of imagine yourself sometimes it has to do with if something happened in the past that kind of trips you up. And go back to that in your mind, kind of in it. And then you imagine yourself as the age you are now, going back and sitting next to your young self, and helping that young person figure it out.
Process through it.
You really do have that ability to teach and to love her and what to do, what to do next in that continuation. Separate yourself out from it a little bit.
Yes, I use that a lot. It's a very, very powerful method. Step outside yourself and talk to your younger self. Yeah, because you are using the adult mind to talk to the child mind. Wonderful. Any other questions, comments? So the goal in teaching you these things was to hopefully point you and keep you headed in the direction of that healthy life, your healthy state of well-being, that healthy mind. As you're working on your healthy body, just be patient with yourselves. Love yourselves. Especially be patient. Because it's hard. Our journeys are never easy, and it's always a journey. And what I've learned is just to be patient along that journey. So if there's not any other comments or questions, I'm going to end that.
We want to give a huge thank you. Thank you for coming out for the event. I found so much value tonight. Thank you to Wendy Hendry and Wendy Christensen. Wendy squared her an awesome night tonight. And I just wanted to remind you to turn you back to the person who invited you and see how we can add value to you. And I loved how you said that the coach only asks questions, you have the answers within. And that's really the key. We have the answers, but plug into the community, plug into someone who is going to partner with you for your health. And did anyone think of someone they needed to forgive today? But I just wanted to thank you again for coming out, and hope that you'll come to our next events that we have, and we'll see you guys later. Oh, we have prizes. Hold on. What's our prize? Oh, back here. You win a vegetable spaghetti maker. Yeah. Okay. The next one, can you guys have that back to me? The next winner is 830-8350. Oh, over here. You win my book, Success Through Failing. Okay, the next one is 830-8383. Over here, you win Becoming Your Best book. It's a leadership book. It's awesome. Okay, is this the last one?
Yeah.
Okay, 830-8342. Use this blanket so you can feel it when you're stressed out.
That's
Thank you.
You can have all.
Okay, that went fast for me. Some value there. Yours? I better turn this off.